everyone, my name is Angela, and today we are here with Chris Chilton. Chris is an Associate Director at GK Horizons here in Sydney, specializing in new businesses. Chris had diverse managerial roles in sales and business development at various companies such as ADP, Oracle, Elma Cloud, and many more. Other than his passion for sales and technology, if there is one thing you can't miss about Chris, it would be his passion towards golf. When he was 19, he decided to become a professional golfer, and with his dedication and hard work, Chris has graduated as a member of the Australian PGA. Chris also holds an MBA from University of Canberra. So, hi Chris, how are you?
Hey Angela, thank you for having me. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thank you for joining. So we'll start with, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, you've given a great intro there, so thank you for that. As you said, I've had a fairly diverse career. I started off way back when in hospitality and worked in hotels for a few years. At the same time, parallel, started my career in golf and eventually became a golf professional, as you said. And then after that, I started my own business and operated that for 5 years in the software space. And then have moved steadily through different and varying roles within the sales sphere across different verticals and different product sets.
Okay, so now you're in management consulting, is that?
Yeah, so GK Horizon is a management consulting and systems implementation partner to both Workday and also CAMS. So we help organisations in those two areas, both in a finance capacity mainly and also in risk strategy and projects.
So could you tell us a little bit about what you do day to day at work?
Well, hopefully I engage with various different people, but mostly the Office of Finance is where our main focus is. So we help VPs of finance, CFOs in the area of budgeting, forecasting and planning. That's where our main focus is. So day to day, I'm talking to customers about what their needs are around budgeting and forecasting. Most organizations are still using good old Excel, and that can be, troublesome. So hopefully we're out there solving their problems or their challenges, never problems, always just challenges. And day to day, I'm speaking with different people, understanding their challenges and trying to help them through both technology and also looking at people and processes.
So what do you like about your job?
Look, there's a lot to like about it. I love working with people and helping people. I guess I'm a people person. So really my first thing is how can I help someone do whatever they need to do to be successful? And I also love working with technology that enables or improves someone's day-to-day work. Rather than someone spending 4 days trying to produce an Excel report for the management, I'd like to give them a piece of technology that helps them do it in a couple of hours. So they're the two things I love about what I do in a sales capacity,
So you've been in very different industries, but could you tell us more about how your industry, so sales industry, has changed?
Big changes in sales. It's changed tremendously. I've been involved in sales now for 15 plus years. And the change that we've seen from, 15 years ago to now is quite significant. And in a couple of ways, obviously the internet has really impacted a salesperson's role, because you can go online now and find out probably more than I know. If you do your research, you can find out our competitors, then you're talking to competitors and understanding what their programs can do or their software can do. So consumers really have an upper hand now over salespeople. So the old features and benefits conversation is really not valuable to a consumer now. So that's a big change. And then there's so many options, right? So if you want to go buy a CRM or an HR software or an ERP or whatever it might be, there is multiple options. And if we're very honest about it, they're all very much the same. Yes, some might have a green button, some might have a blue button, but they're all pretty much the same. So I think now a very good salesperson talks at more of a strategic level. And rather than this button does this and that button does that, it's much more about, okay, well, what are your company objectives? What are you trying to achieve as a business? And how is this piece of software going to enable you to achieve those goals? And so I think it's a much more strategic conversation now than it ever has been. And I think most people can decipher between a strategic salesperson and someone who's just trying to sell them something. And it doesn't matter what it is, right? So very big changes in the sales environment and a lot about the business outcome, the strategic, than the tactical and the, pressing buttons.
What do you think is the most important skill and attitude in your profession?
Oh, gee, I had to write a list out for this.
Really?
Well, I was thinking about it, right? So empathy is one.
Oh, yes.
Empathy is, you have to put yourself in the person's shoes. And we all know that you never know what's going on in people's lives, right? So whether it be at work and what their boss is telling them or what their team's giving them grief. So empathy is a big one. Listening is a huge skill that you need in sales. And it's a skill that I've got to continually work on, right? Because listening then forms better questions.
Yeah.
And when you ask better questions, you get better answers and you understand more about what's going on. You need patience. Patience is a big one, right? Because the buyer has their process to go through and they don't really care about whether you need to sign by the end of the month or the end of the quarter. So you need patience. You need a certain sense of detachment from the process, because in this game, in sales, you get a lot of no's. You get a lot of people saying no to you. So you kind of have to detach from that. It's not a personal thing. And again, this is a big one that I have to work on, because I do take things personally. So when people say no, it certainly hurts. I think that's part of my competitive spirit as well. But you have to be a good project manager as well. People don't think of salespeople as project managers, but really what we are today is, and certainly in an enterprise type role that I operate in, I'm moving the pieces around, right? Like I have to bring in our advisory team, or I have to bring in our technical experts or our integration specialist. So really for me, it's about maneuvering the pieces. I mean, I'm not that smart, Angela. So it's more about bringing all the smart people in and letting me be the conductor of the orchestra, I guess you could say. So it's really about influence, negotiation, project management. Those are really the skills that you need to have in sales, and all ones that I'm still continuing to kind of learn, right? Like you continue learning, hopefully all throughout your career.
Yeah. Okay. That was interesting.
I hope so.
Yeah. So the next question, what kind of people do you enjoy interacting with in your profession? It's
an interesting question, that. And when I think about it, I really think that for me, I like, and we use the term at work, it's actually in our tagline for our business, it's unlocking future thinking. I like people who think about not just today, but what am I doing tomorrow?
Yeah.
And what do I need to do to be better? Or what do I need to do to help the business grow or whatever? So for me, it's people who listen, who want to learn, who want to think about more than, hey, I need this solution now. And that's one of the big things that we do at GK is talk about people, process, and then technology. Because if you don't have the people and the process, the technology is not going to help you. Moving from Excel to a piece of technology, if you just lift and shift it, you're just lifting and shifting the problems that you bring in anyway. And I'm sure you see this in your line of work all the time, right? You need to be thinking about not only, okay, I need to put this into here, but where am I going in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, 5 years' time for this to be successful as a long-term strategy? So I like people who think long-term, not just short-term gains.
Okay. What do you wish you'd know when you were starting out?
I wish I'd known how hard sales is. It's not all coffee and lunches, right? Like everyone thinks salespeople just go for coffees and lunches, and it's not. It is a challenging profession, and it is a profession. And I think people need to consider it as a profession. You can't study at university for a career in sales. That's something that's quite interesting to me, that higher education haven't picked up on that, because sales can be a very good career. I mean, I know a lot of salespeople who are making more than managing directors of companies. So there is definitely a career there. And I guess the other thing I wish I knew more about is probably just more about listening and more about asking better questions. Now I'm always thinking about that. How do I ask a better question, a more interesting question, not just the bland, have you got the budget or whatever, but how can I delve a little bit deeper? So I guess those two things I wish I knew and I wish I'd learnt earlier in my career.
You started as a professional golfer and then you had your startup business. So you were an entrepreneur and then you went to sales and now you're in management consulting / sales. So which one do you like the best?
Look, really my career has been sales and I kind of fell into it because even though I was a professional golfer, I was selling myself. I had a sponsorship with a major telco. I had some members at my golf club invest some money in me to go and play in America. So I was selling myself. So I've always been in sales, right? So it's just, gone from selling myself to selling software. That's really it.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay, so the next question, what do you wish you had known before taking your first management role?
So my first management role was actually back in 2011. I was actually the general manager at a golf centre. So what did I wish I knew? I wish I knew how hard it was. I thought it was all pretty easy. You just get other people to do stuff, right? That's what a manager does. Managing conflict, that was a really big lesson, trying to manage conflict. And when you've got varying ages of people, I had young people, I had older people, and you're in the middle, really managing that conflict is difficult, right? Like someone's not going to be happy with you. In the end, I guess, again, I'm a person that likes to keep people happy. And in management, sometimes you can't keep people happy. You just have to make the decision that you think's best. People don't like you, then people don't like you, but that's just part of it. So, I wish I'd known how hard it is to be a manager. And I wish I'd known how to manage conflict a little bit better.
How can you learn that, though, without experience?
That's a very good question. I hadn't thought about that. That's not a question you sent me. How do you learn that? Look, I think it comes to being empathetic. I think that's really what you need to understand. And you need to be confident. I think it comes down to confidence too, right? It comes down to really understanding what is the right direction for the business or for the direction that you want to go as a person or whatever that is. It's understanding the other points of view, definitely. But in the end, you're going to have to make a decision for the business. And that's really what it comes down to. So you just have to be a little bit detached from it, but show empathy in the decisions you make.
I don't know how you're going to answer to this. If you didn't choose the field you're in now, where would you be?
Look, where would I be? I would probably, hospitality is where I started and there's still some dreams in my head of having a little cafe at some stage. So I love my food. I love my wine. So hospitality or obviously a sporting career of some, in the sports arena of some description probably.
So next question, what makes you feel alive?
Again, another very good question. Look, obviously my family, my kids, I've got a 12 and a 16-year-old. They keep me on my toes. So, definitely my family. I'm a family guy and, it's nice to be around them and watch their achievements and see their achievements. That gives you great pride as a parent. And watching them turn into human beings, right? Like after being very little, but watching them turn into young adults and so on. I hope they're not listening because I'm complimenting them. And then really, I guess on a business front for me, it's hearing of success stories for clients, and helping them achieve their objectives, I think is pretty important to me.
Do you have a motto that you live by?
Yeah, I've got a couple, I guess. And one I try to live by is it doesn't cost you anything to be nice, right? That's one. And the other one that I'm trying to implement for this year is really don't worry about the things you have no control over. Probably the two. I mean, the second one is something that I'm trying to work on this year because if you can't control it, it's not worth worrying about.
Yeah, I need to work on that as well. Yeah. Do you like reading books?
You know what? So I did my MBA. As you may have seen in 2018, which I was terrible at school. Like, I was terrible. I was more interested in my sport than school. So I was never very good at school. I didn't go to university after school. And when I did my MBA back in 2017, 2018, it kind of reignited a passion for learning. So I have started to read a lot more and really tried to self-improve. So I read a lot of sales books and sales techniques and, trying to refine my skills. And I read a very good book, Deep Listening by Oscar Trimboli. He's a listening expert. And there's some really nice stuff in there, things that you can work on day to day. Nothing too deep that is too hard to practice.
Have you read the Jordan, the Wolf of Wall Street guy?
I haven't read it, so I can't really comment, but the movies that have kind of been around sales, so there's Glengarry, Glenn Ross, The Wolf of Wall Street. That's very old sales techniques. It's like just sell whatever to whoever, whenever. So, I guess people like myself, and there's a lot of other people out there that are really trying to change the face of sales. In the end, if I want to talk to you, I'm trying to help you. Now, if you don't want my help, fine, just say no and I'll move on. But, my intention is to help. It's not to just sell you something, it's to help. But there are a percentage of salespeople out there that will just sell.
Because I wanted to learn more about like the negotiation skills and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I wanted to read on sales related books.
There is a great podcast that I've started to listen to called The Negotiation Ninja.
Oh, okay.
So listen to that. Some really good things. I've picked up some excellent things just for my own benefit, but there's a very good podcast if you like podcasts.
I'll make sure I'll look at that. Okay, so questions about mentoring. Do you have a mentor?
I have had mentors through my career, I guess. I've got a very good friend of mine who I would consider a mentor. We have some very good conversations around that. But if there's anyone who watches this YouTube who would like to connect and talk, then I'm always happy to do so. But I think you have people throughout your life that you don't realize are mentors until, you've moved on. But look, I've got one guy particularly who was an old boss of mine who I still consider a mentor. We don't talk as regularly. He certainly influenced the way that I see things and so on. So, I would say he was probably one of my first mentors. And then I think there's other people you think of as you go through your life that have given you advice here and there, but not one sort of solid mentor through my, corporate life.
Then have you been a mentor in the past?
In some regards, I think I've had an influence or I've helped. Again, I like to help people, right? So through my different companies, I've always tried to shape and help and contribute. So I don't know whether you'd call that mentoring or coaching or whatever, but where I've tried to help people, I guess you could call that some mentoring.
How would you show them that you believe in them?
It's a good question. I had to think about this one. I think the greatest way that you can show someone that is to give them responsibility. Give them a project, let them go and speak on a company's behalf, whatever that might be, but give someone responsibility. And that usually, for me anyway, I would say, if someone gave me the responsibility to go and represent my company somewhere or run an internal project or whatever, I would say, yes, there's some belief in my skills and my abilities.
So second last question, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Don't be influenced by outside pressures. Do what makes you happiest, because I think too many times when we're younger, we're worried about what car are we going to have, where are we going to live, how are we going to eat, what am I going to do here, what am I going to do there? And they go to different people and different people give their views and, parents put pressure on you and spouses and, there's all of those things. But I think in the end you have to be true to yourself, which is hard, right? Like it's very difficult. But at some point, you get to an age where that becomes, I'm going to do what makes me happy. And as long as I can do the things I need to do, whether it be for me or my family. So I just not succumb to outside pressures if you can, and do what makes you happiest.
Yes. So the last question, if you could describe yourself with an animal, what would it be?
Yeah, I asked my wife this question. She said something with a gruff exterior but soft inside. So I think I'd like to think of myself as a lion, but probably I'm a lion cub. So I think look, I would describe myself as a fairly personable kind of person. I'm not a lion, I wouldn't say, but I have some determination and those sort of things. So yeah, I couldn't picture one animal that I would think, but yeah, I guess that's how I'd best describe myself.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.
That's all right.
That's the questions we have for today. Thank you.
Thank you.